Okay, we're live.
I think so.
All right, everyone, welcome to the first board meeting of the 24-25 school year. Jazz hands. I haven't done this in a while. I have to remember what we do. So I think the first thing we need to do is go to the agenda and a motion to approve the agenda. Yeah, we have a quorum. Yep. Yeah, we got a couple of blank spaces. That's the beauty of having a large board now. What am I hearing? Is some feedback? Oh, it's coming through from YouTube. Okay.
I need to.
I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's my voice. Okay. Is that good now?
Yes. I need to mute you.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
So moved. I second it.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
If she's hearing it,
Beth isn't hearing?
I am asking.
Oh,
No, I hear everybody. It sounds great.
does it sound good?
Yes, it's perfect. And I can see everybody. So this is awesome.
Can you hear the air conditioner?
I do not hear that. So apparently only you all do.
That's great. Just in one area, but that's great it's not coming through. All right, we do not have any stakeholder comments tonight, do we? Okay. And everyone had a chance to look through the board folder, saw the meeting minutes from our June 15th board meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay. Did you get through that? Sorry. Jen and then Kelly. All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So now we will have the governance update from Beth.
And I'll let Mr. Bang start with the local compliance, sharing what that is.
This is something we do every year. I didn't want to forget that we do it because we need to have a local compliance. Maybe we may not, but it's not going to be a problem because we need to adopt one, and the local compliance is the one recommended by the SPED department, and it's going to be accepted by DESI.
And I believe, was there a copy of that in the board prep folder?
No, because it is, as I said, it's a routine that we do every year just to keep ourselves out of trouble. Because otherwise we'll have to develop our own policy. But if you adopt the DESI one, it will be just fine.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't, if you could email or add it to the folder, just so people can refer back to it if they ever need to. But yes, can we get a motion to approve the DESI recommended local compliance plan?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. These are easy today.
The other piece is there's a few more people that I'll follow up with regarding the board matrix Google form. I think as we mentioned at the end of last year, we have one open board seat that we want to make sure fills sort of the gaps that we have on the board. So I'm going to follow up with a couple of final people that I'm waiting on to make sure we know what's the background and skills of everyone. I'm also going to resend an email, just some reminders for each of our committees. If the chair of each of our committees could make sure the members that we list as committee members is accurate, that your regular meeting time is still correct in the overview. So I'll resend the email with a link to the document that I need the committee chairs to review. And then just a reminder, the agendas are publicized for each of those meetings. So 2 days before each committee meeting meets, you need to update your agenda that is live on the Académie Lafayette website. And the calendar is also lists each of the meeting times that you have on that committee overview. So we want to make sure the calendar and committee agendas are always accurate, and that we are keeping meeting minutes for each of those. And so as a reminder, prior to our board meeting, I put the minutes in the board prep folder. I know a lot of us haven't been meeting over the summer, but I always like to put the minutes there so people can see what discussions are happening in the board meeting, or in the committee meeting, sorry. Any questions? So I'll sort of resend that out to the to everybody right after this meeting, but any questions about that?
Nope.
Awesome. Then that's all I had for governance.
All right. Stephen.
Finance. Well, other people need the payments. Move this, let me move this.
Okay, accounts payable for June. So we didn't meet last month, so we need to cover some of the June highlights, and then also we'll talk about July highlights. During June, we paid Nathan Clark $103,000, and that's for the Cherry Campus 28 smart boards. And so the Cherry Campus is being upgraded on their smart boards, smart displays. So $103,000 for that project. Booster was paid just about $50,000, and that's the Musketeer March professional fundraising fees. We bring in about $130,000 on that fundraiser, so there is a chunk that goes to Booster, but essentially our staff don't do much on that Musketeer March. It's managed by that professional fundraising organization, so they help push out items, and so it's helpful to have them manage that particular fundraiser. International Baccarat Organization, we paid them our annual fees, about $23,000. Then the trip bank account, we had a $14,000 transfer to the travel debit cards, and that's for the global studies. Any questions over the June accounts payable transactions? Do we have an estimated target date for those?
No, but they'll be installed for even the cherry one. Yeah, I will be done by the end of the week.
Oh, good.
It's well advanced. Yeah, before school starts, it will be done.
I'll talk about it here. Then on July transactions, Masters Transportation, they were paid $50,000 for an additional 2017 Uber bus. So over May, June, and July, we purchased 3 buses that totaled $183,000, almost $184,000, 2019, and then 2 2017 buses to increase our fleet. We have a total of 13 buses in our fleet. One of those is down. It's one of the small buses, so essentially 12 buses that are running. MRH Hearst, we paid them $33,000 for summer painting at the Cherry and Oak campuses. So some several projects going on, we have that in the budget. NWEA, we paid about $23,000 for the map testing that's coming up for the current school year. Any questions over July highlights? We'll need a motion to approve the June and July 2024 accounts payable transactions.
I move to approve. A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now the fun stuff.
Yes. So for the June year end, on our third-party accountants report revenues exceeding expenses by 1.1 million. So there was 21.7 million in revenues and just about 20.6 million in expenses. So 1.1 million net revenues that exceeded our expenses. On screen there, that's the financial statements that AdOps puts together. Some top-level variances there. If you notice, towards the top there, the revenues were more than budgeted by about $1.7 million. We'll talk about those here in just a minute. I just wanted to get some top-level items here. Then the ordinary expenses towards the very bottom of the screen. The ordinary expenses were under budget by $202,000. But then extraordinary expenses, those are like the capital expenses, we were over budget by 802. So net, we were on expenses, we were over budget by 600,000. Then we go to the next screen here, which is our cash in, cash out perspective. So we like to look at how much cash changed during the year. And so we received more than we spent by $800,000. And so if we were to compare that to the previous screen where it was 1.1 million when we were talking just a moment ago, the difference between the actual change in cash and $1 million is the CD that was purchased back in September, October for the buses. We purchased the CD to secure that loan. It was a cash secured loan essentially, and so it was $250,000. So that's really the difference between the change in cash versus expenses and revenues. So talking about the revenue variances. So the reason why revenues were more than budgeted or more than anticipated is due to the higher per watt allocation that we received last year. And so when we put the budget together over a year ago, we were anticipating that the per watt allocation would be about 11,000 per student per watt. But that actually ended up being 11,308. So because that increased, there was additional allocation to us. That's a Missouri Basic Formula payment. Also, the transportation was fully funded last year. And when we say fully funded, that's still capped at 75% reimbursement of transportation costs that are eligible on eligible miles. And so what we had budgeted was about $84,000, but we actually received about $300,000 in transportation reimbursement. And then the school safety grant, that was a new grant last year that was mid-year about, and it was $150,000. So that we didn't expect that when we were preparing the initial budget, the original budget. Second point there is the sped revenues. So those were higher than budgeted, and that was a timing issue. So at the very end of June 2023, the sped revenues were carried over to July 2023. Desk ran out of money, and so there was a $320,000 reimbursement that didn't clear until the 2023-24 school year. So that's why sped revenues were higher. Expense variances. So salaries and benefits were under budget, so we had unfilled positions, but also we had mid-year, we switched carriers for insurance and we received a $75,000 admin credit. So we had a benefit there, but also just insurance was under budget in general. So between salaries and benefits, about $660,000 under budget on salaries and benefits. Janitorial service was over budget by $80,000. We noted that in previous months. Student expense, that would include our instructional supplies and instructional technology expenses. That was over budget by about $150,000. Part of that variance is the $175,000 in Chromebooks that we purchased in the year. Food service was over budget by $63,000. We purchased more food than what we had budgeted or expected, so more plates. And we may even see an increase for the current year just with the early start. We may see a bump in breakfast. That we didn't even anticipate when we passed the budget in June. Office and business expense was over budget, and I've got several items here listed. Musketeer March, there was a timing difference there of $50,000 from the previous year. It's on the previous director of development's desk, and so it was paid in October. AT&T was $50,000 more than expected. That service is being terminated though. As of Sunday, Mr. Roger had terminated that. It was for the backup lines for internet servers, so he's gone a different route, purchasing a server and then managing it through Department Impacts. So we're eliminating that expense. Core data services was more than, it was planned in salaries, but it was paid as a contractor, essentially $50,000. So the offset was in salary. Same thing with those food service data was $50,000, and so the offset is salaries. And then there's an additional insurance expense. So insurance at renewal came back $20,000 more than what we had initially been quoted. So we're just increasing insurance. Some of that's just the litigious nature of our society right now. So there's more risk involved with insuring schools. $20,000 in additional IT tech services to make it large. So Mr. Roger needed some additional help on various areas throughout the year, and so it's $20,000. And then part of that smart board installation upgrade was $16,000.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So the $50,000 that we spent for the Musketeer March in October, can you help me understand what we just passed, the $47,000?
Correct. Yeah, so the $50,000 in October 2023 was for March of 2023.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. And then the 47 that we just paid was for March of 24.
Thank you.
Good question. Contracted transportation. So the contracted transportation and maintenance was under budget by $250,000. But caveat with that is that does not include the bus purchases that we made during the year, nor the wages that was not included in that line. I'll come back to that though. I've got an extra slide for just transportation. The principal debt payments, those were over budget by $200,000, and that was due to the payoff of the bus loan, that cash secured loan that we took out back in September, October. We said that if we were going to land with a surplus, we would pay that loan off, and so that's what we ended up doing. So that's why the principal line was over budget. Unplanned capital expenses. So during the year, we didn't necessarily plan to purchase additional buses, but we ended up purchasing 7 new to us buses for about $400,000. And what that translates to is 1 small bus and 6 larger buses. So the 6 71 passenger buses and 1 small bus. And then the safety grant, we talked about over budget on revenue for the safety grant. That was $150,000. And so the other side of that is the $150,000 in expense that we paid out. So essentially a wash on those 2 buckets. What is that was that transportation slide. That's what I said. It should have been saved in real time. Did you?
Now, that's what I was telling you, that this won't have an issue.
I changed it though. The one that you should get you.
Still fit.
That was the transportation slide.
Tell us about
Technical difficulties, right? We'll go on the fly here. So I did want to look at transportation in more detail. So we already talked about the variance in revenue on transportation where we get reimbursed by the state. There was a variance of $200,000, and that was just due to the state allocating the transportation revenues at 100, fully funded is what they called it. And so we were expecting to be paid on what they were previously paying us 2 years ago, and it was not fully funded. But the governor included it in his budget. He's included it in this budget this year as well. And so we were fully funded for the transportation reimbursement. On the expense side, the contracted transportation was under budget by $122,000. The offset of that is wages. Wages, we were over budget by about $100,000, so a net to the good of 20. Insurance was over budget by about $13,000. That's because we purchased more buses, so we'd expect to pay more in insurance. Repairs and maintenance was actually under budget by $64,000, so we just didn't repair the buses as much that we expected. And then software and supplies was over budget by a little bit, $2,500, and that was just because we had to put cameras and the GPS software on the buses. Just some positive stats that were included in the finance packet. The one that I wanted to draw your attention to is the fund balance, and that's at 30%. So our sponsor requires us to be at about 8%, so we're well over that. So we're in good shape there. But we talked about this in the board retreat about establishing a reserve ratio and board policy. We are working on that. Ed has drafted us a policy to go over and make it our own, essentially. We did not get to it in our finance committee meeting on Thursday. We had a whole list of items to go through. We ran out of time. So it is still being worked on. Just wanted to give you an update on that. So we are due during the board retreat. We're working on it. And any questions over the year-end financials?
two parents of the children who live leaky ceiling about that.
Are you talking about the old campus? Leaky ceiling?
Yeah.
Leaky ceiling, so he's asking if we're aware of the leaky ceiling at Oak. Yes, and that was one item we talked about in the finance committee meeting, are the bids were coming in over $250,000 for the Oak campus, and so we have to do a sealed bid RFP, so we're in process on doing that. So. Any other questions?
All right. Any other questions? Well, like I said in finance committee meeting when we went into this in detail, we appreciate your conservative approach to budgeting, even though we'd like to try to push it sometimes. And sometimes you give us, but yeah, great.
Okay, so speaking of conservative approaches, I'll briefly go through the development committee report. Agenda items are going to just be pretty high level. Our projected revenue for this upcoming year when it pertains to development department, and then the key event dates, which are all also on the calendar, but just want to make sure this group has visibility. Our goal for this year, $490,700, so right around $500,000, which is right around, I think this last year, it was in the previous board meeting, we were at 490, 485. I should have put that in here, but it's in a previous meeting, sorry. So we do have a goal. The raffle is our first event coming up this year, $100,000. So you can see where we landed. On those smaller numbers for each event is where we landed last year. Total gross. Generations Day, $5,600. I think everybody, if you're not familiar with Generations Day, it's mostly a community building event, but it does kind of kick off into our annual appeal, end of year annual appeal. And we do make a little bit of a profit off of that for some items that we've sold throughout the year. It's mostly kids' artwork. Musketeer March, $106,000. Evening in Paris, $130,000. Benefit breakfast, that is new this year. We have a $45,000 goal for that. So we will be firming that up here hopefully in the next next month or so, and making sure that we make this group and everybody aware of when that will be. Grants is TBD. This is a new item that we're adding into our budget this year. It will fluctuate year over year depending on the needs and the grants available, but we do want to make sure we're tracking against that pretty heavily going forward. And then other annual fund deposits. So this can be inclusive of the various donations that come in throughout the year, various appeals that we might do that we hadn't accounted for at the start of the year. And then event dates, I won't hash these out. You can see them on here. They're all on the calendar. I do just want to state, though, we do have our dates for the cash raffle that is going to kick off on September 20th. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the September meeting. But just have that on your visibility and your radar, because that is our first big event. And last year, thanks to Elise and her wonderful planning, we were at I think our total gross was 138,000, which is wonderful, and I feel confident we can meet those numbers again this year. And then also note that we do have a date confirmed for Evening in Paris as well. It is April 20th, and I'm just noting that here because we do have to get a venue. We've got the venue secured and we're set there. So all of these dates are pretty firm going forward this year, with the exception of the benefits breakfast, which will hopefully have a date for you in the next month or so. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Since the grant section is currently TBD, will you all be updating your goal?
I don't know what we will. Yes, we will be.
Okay.
Yes. And ideally, as we have some larger grants coming in and that we're targeting, we'll talk through those here too.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the District Performance Committee. We meet every month, and Gwen is the chair of the committee. So this, for August, we are looking into, we looked into the semester 2 discipline, last year's discipline report. Normally, I think for next year, we need to make sure that all the data we're able to do them, look at them at the board retreat. That's what my plan is, to make sure we have those data. And then the data calendar that I added there. What you're seeing is for the district, number of incidents, number of in-school and out-of-school incidents for K-5. For last semester, from January to May, we have 31 incidents. And so as you can see, by grade level, K-5, in-school suspension is 22, out-of-school suspension is 9, we have 9. For middle and high school, as you can see, the number is much higher, a total of 58. In-school suspension 21, out-of-school suspension 37. Much higher than what we had last year. So this is the number of students. For K5, we had 31 incidents for 25 students. We have few students who have been suspended twice, at least. And for 6th grade to 12th grade, 49 incidents. And 49 students for 58 incidents. So again, same thing. Some students have been suspended twice or more. Everybody understand the incident and number of students? Okay. Now let's go to breakdown by ethnicity. What do we have for in-school and out-of-school suspension? With the percentage of kids who have been suspended for in and out-of-school suspension, the whole school. White students, 2% of white students, and we have 6.8% for black students, 3.9% for Hispanic. So the 20% of Asian is, you see, they only, we talk about 2 students there out of, so 3 out of 19 or 20. Immediate multiracial is 1.3, total suspension is 2.9 of our district students were suspended. For female and male, we have 5.4% of male students suspended and 1.5 for female. It's middle school, Saturday school. Saturday schools are, just to remind some of the board members who don't know what Saturday school, we have instituted another way of holding kids accountable without suspending them. How it works Saturday school is that if a student violates the school rules or disturb the class or play truancy, instead of having consequence, they have a mark. They have one chance, one strike. If they do it again in another class, they have another strike. And if you go and do another again, they have 3 strikes. Once they have 3 strikes within a month, so they have to come to school on Saturday for 3 hours. The Saturday school is not generally part of the school student records. It was instituted years ago to avoid suspension of kids who were doing the same thing many times without. So after one month, let's say a student has 2 strikes. At the end of the month, he did not have a 3rd strike, so the strikes will go away. It will start again. Clean slate and then start again. So what we are avoiding is having 3 strikes within a month. If you have 2 and the month is over, so the strike is goes away. So it's only in middle school, not in high school. So we have it by grade level over there, but maybe we may need to look into that part. Okay, 6th grade to 9th grade to 8th grade, when 9th grade to 12th grade is a suspension. Is not suspension, but how do you call it? Detention. In middle school, what we have is if a student did not do his homework or something, he will be asked to stay at school at the end for 1 hour. That's what we call detention, as opposed to Saturday school. So mainly, we may have few students Saturday school for high school, but mainly we have detention there. So that's the data we have. As you can see, I put in red the overrepresentation of black kids, 27%. That's why I make sure that people see 42%. And white is 11.64, 13.16 for Hispanic, and 27.27 for Asian. We have only 2 Pacific Islanders who have 50%. The number is minimum. And all in all, we have 15% of our students were asked to come and attend Saturday school. And we have the breakdown for male and female, 18.64 for male and 12.2 for female. So this is more of breakdown on, you can see more just for high school, also detentions, but you have it there from 9th grade to 12th grade. So we have more kids in 10th grade, with 72% of the kids who asked to stay after school. And the breakdown for ethnicity, you have 38% for white and 65% of black students, 43% for Hispanic, 42% for Asian, and 50%, I would say, of Pacific Islanders. Multinational, 50%. As you can see, there's a very high number of students being asked to stay for detention. So it's 46% of our high schoolers.
Wow.
So it can be on anything, not doing homework or violating to schools or something. You ask to stay for 1 hour.
What about for your suspension? What's your most common reasons for suspensions? What are the most common reasons for suspension?
High school, most common reason, the problem we have this year for high school is vaping. And we have one case of drug use. We have many kids who have been suspended for vaping. Many times we see this. And we have we talk about a group of 4 kids, 5 kids doing that. And that's something we need to. The second one is fighting.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
they'll stop fighting those.
Yeah, the second one is fighting. It's fighting that we've seen a higher number than we usually. But usually we would have maybe 1 fight a year. Once a year maybe, but we've seen a high number of student fighting. Those are the 2 main reasons for suspension. And as a new high school, we were kind of shocked, including myself, of this vaping thing, and then I had to talk to it. Many people told me it's a national problem for vaping. And we need to see, because first we approach it with a very hard hand, and then as we learn about it, we realize, hey, we cannot expect kids like that for vaping. So we need to approach another one. So this coming year, we have to have a different approach for dealing with vaping. But drugs will be tough on it. So we have had one case of drug usage or selling drugs. That's the main problem we have for suspension.
Have you seen, like, are the marks and things coming kind of evenly across all teachers, or are you seeing in?
I did not have a chance to look at it. That's a very good question. Just for the new board members, generally we've seen in the past, when you look at who is giving the marks, mainly new teachers to our school, or less, I would say, less experienced teachers. So we've had that that overrepresentation of new teachers to our school, or not experienced teachers giving more of the marks, which we need to go and check it, and then make sure that at the beginning of the school year, these teachers will train. We also talk, the committee talk about the needs to every year DI, diversity, equity, and inclusion training for our teachers, and also bias train every year, making sure they get it. Because you've seen some teachers, experienced teachers have been here for a long time. They rarely send kids to Saturday school because they understand that the simple way of pressing, I'm going to put a mark, it will stay. You don't have to put the mark. As opposed to, if you're a new teacher, generally you want to follow the rules. This is what the school tells you, this is what you do. Most of the time, that's what we saw in the past years.
I noticed that on every category and every level, the African American percentage or the population is higher, and so we mark it red. And I'd like to know what I heard you say, the DEI, the diversity and inclusion kinds of things, but what other things are being done to address that?
Yeah, that's what we talk about here on this key takeaway and measure we're going to see. We see the overrepresentation, like I said, of black students here. Yeah. Middle school, high school, more affected by behavior incidents, and then more incidents related to vaping and drug, I said. But in the district-wide student behavior management system. Because at this point, what we're having is we have elementary school using PBIs. Middle and high school last year was in the air, nothing very clearly started to make sure that the kids coming from Oak when they come here, there's a consistency of expectation as opposed to coming with a new thing to do that. So also, as I said, needing to make sure that our new teachers who tend to maybe follow the rules like teacher letters are more trained in approaching discipline. And also training teachers for DEI to make sure that we deal with some biases and different things, issues happening. So, of course, every child has, we need a particular approach because they have different way of doing things for behavior. What we've seen last year is particularly defiant on some categories, because personally I had to intervene because Dr. Paul was, she lost last year her son, and I had to step in to help for things. But I've seen kids who decide to act however they wanted, and when you even call them for that day school, they refuse to come. Mm. So we never had those kind of issues, and we have had parents fighting, and I said no. At some point, I had to call parents and say, if you don't come, this is what's going to happen. We will suspend them. So there's more defiance really last year. And I think we have hired 1 year too late vice principal. Now that we have vice principal, hopefully there's more support. If school has a social worker, so a combination of supporting from vice principal, using training for DI, and making sure also that we have a consistent approach for behavior management might be helpful. And we will have, as I said, approach discipline one child at a time. So they're different. Generally, when I was dealing with discipline, I would ask myself before I suspend kids, what is the chance that this kid will do it again? Some kids make mistakes. I mean, you handle it with the parents without suspension. Even though, some kids, the parents don't want to work with you. They will fight you away on everything. As I said, we have issues with some parents who were fighting Saturday school. So I think that we just need here, especially here, to revisit what we're doing and making sure that all our teachers are on the same line to support them.
Only thing sorry, I was just going to mention, I think that's what the majority of our conversation in the school performance committee focused on, is just very clear. I mean, the data is clear that we do have an overrepresentation of our Black students in suspension Saturday schools, which is worrisome to see. And so I appreciate that you're sort of taking a deeper dive into the data around, who are the teachers. And a big thing that we talked about is DEI training is not sort of a one-time PD, right? It has to be ongoing conversations throughout the school year. And so engaging with individuals who can sort of support us in figuring out what does that DEI plan look like for our teachers. Because when you do see that kind of overrepresentation in the data, that impacts the culture in our classrooms and how our students of color feel in the classroom if, a large majority of them are getting suspensions or Saturday school. And so I do think it will be a really big issue for us to think critically about what does that ongoing conversation and support for teachers look like to make sure we're helping them grow and creating the right culture in our classrooms.
Well, I'd say Gwen and I probably, we've been around and had to deal with definitely any kind of discipline from all children. But we have had the opportunity to have, for some of the, I call them different flyers, they're in office, frequently, the members like all the different flyers. But for some of our frequent flyers, we kind of assign staff member to build a rapport with that student, and it kind of helped. We didn't care what color it was, and it was a frequent flyer. We knew that was that person go to the board with that student and kind of informally, and it seemed to, help. So I remember putting it out.
And I'm not certain if I've been assigned to a committee yet, but whatever this falls under, I don't mind assisting with that because the spectrum which I teach for children with this time is building relationships between educators and what we believe as our difficult scholars and how we can retain them in the classroom. So I don't mind helping with that.
Thank you.
But,
Any other question? Do you have anything, Gwen? So this is the second part. I just try to capture what we do during the school year. July is always on vacation. So what I put here is, for this one, we look at the student enrollment report quickly, and then look at the goals. So the goals I told you about is moving in September, because I want to be a bottom-up thing. The classroom and the district, we build our goals and then share with you. And the goals are tied to the strategic plan. We'll be able also probably to share now in September. Normally, the map test, the previous year's map test, hopefully we'll be able to do it this time and not later. And then for September also, we will look into teacher retention data, because now, until school starts, we won't be able to say for sure how many teachers came back. And then for the other data that we use to look at every year, in October we look at the real student enrollment with demographics, retention report, socioeconomic and so on, pre and reduce. That's when we look at where we are and see the trend. November is always the fall NWA test we can look at. And in December, looking into the December, just the first quarter of admissions, applications, and so on, and the map test now. The map test put in December because in the past, the DESI will take a lot of time before they publish everything, including the APR, Annual Performance Report. So we wanted to make sure that by then we will have all the data, but it's kind of late for me. Unfortunately, I wish we would be able to do it in September or at the latest in October. We'll see this year what's going to happen, whether we'll be able to get the APR and to be able to present it to the board. We can also present the preliminary data and then wait until we have all data to do it, but that's something we need to look into. Because now we have our data, enough data, but they're still secret, and we don't have a comparison with other districts. If the board wants to see how well we're doing compared to the state average, we can present that one. Mm-hmm. If we are trying to compare ourselves to other districts like Lissaman, Blue Spring, and Tax Hill, that data is not available. It's also secret. So it depends on what you want. January, we look at the attendance data for the first quarter, for the first semester, I would say. It was the whole semester attendance, no, that's attendance by quarter, but also semester is by discipline to do it. And March is after the lottery, so we look at the application data, how many, what's the demographic of applications. April is the lottery. Now we look at the real data of the lottery, how many kids were enrolled and demographic. So May, I'm trying to see if we can, the May when we are reviewing what we've done here, this table, we can review it for this committee and say, okay, maybe we can change this and that in preparation for what's coming up. And I put for the board retreat, trying to get all the spring data, attendance, discipline. That's what I just talked about. If we were able to get all those things and present it for June, and look at the student demographic, and also the perception surveys, meaning we shared some of the survey in June. It will be good to make sure that at this board retreat, and hopefully we'll have enough time to do all these things, but at least we share we share the perception survey, meaning the parents, the students, and the teachers survey here. Because that will help us over the summer before, for us also to plan our goals based on this data. Any question?
I love seeing this laid out like this, so we know what we're, the board can have an expectation of what you're going to be reporting on each month, which this is really good. If other committee chairs have not done their calendar of what they're working on each month, I just urge you to go in and do that, because I think it'd be really good for us to see at the next meeting, what the other committees are planning for each month. This is great.
So is superintendent's report, starting by, my wonderful admin team. We had a retreat a week and a half ago to review our data for strategic planning and look at propose some goals for this coming school year. Those goals will be shared with the buildings, with the teachers, and we finalize it, and then share with the board in September. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really good, good retreat. So what we're trying to do is every quarter we plan a mini retreat like this to just check where we are. So we said this is what we're going to accomplish for goals, different goals, and then we can check where we are. And we've done it last year. Every quarter we have a retreat and looking at the data, and then all the way to the end of the school year. That will help us better prepare the board's retreat. Because that's what we do, we try to do. Cherry is recognizing Catherine Marchand. Bravo to Mary Catherine Marchand, long-time second grade teacher. She's a finalist for the Excellence in Education Star Teacher Award for the 2024, and the award I think is tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then we go on Wednesday. Great job, Mary Catherine. And summer school staff, Oak recognition in summer school staff. We want to recognize and thank the entire Oak summer school staff, teachers and ed for their dedication. Bravo to the summer school staff. Alma is recognizing Silvana Guevara. Alma is proud to recognize Silvana Guevara, who our building custodian, for her hard work and positive energy. She is a breath of fresh air and the sheer joy is to have her in the building. Bravo, Silvana.
Right.
And for leadership recognition, I just have a few people that were extremely helpful, who went above and beyond to support us. Winnie Long is the, she is the event coordinator, but as you remember, our admission and outreach person is no longer with us. In the middle, she accepted to step in and coordinate the admissions and outreach and have put in order our data. Great job. She's done exceptionally. She has been very helpful and also helped finding host families for interns. So she really helped us a lot. Gina Rene is not our staff member, but she's a teacher who came to be our summer school coordinator. She did a fantastic job. Amazing. Wants help for Jessica Wallace for taking care of our new teachers. She worked for also the summer with visas, placement, finding host families for our teachers. Want to recognize it. And last but not least, our athletic team, Brenda Kam. As you know, she has our team this year won the state cross country and also athletic state championship for middle school, and they did a fantastic job. And she has been extremely supportive and caring to coordinate that. Coach Jeffrey Mandel is the athletic coach for high school. In fact, he was running 40 miles to raise funds for our school.
40 miles.
40 miles.
He ran 40 miles on Saturday, and it was a fundraiser. He did it all in the name of the track program. He raised about $1,000 for the high school track program. Like 40 miles, 10 hours. One day. I see them all over here. You'll see it everywhere. Wow.
So last but not least is the athletic director, Momo Dieng,
He just finished it. Yes.
who coordinates everything about athletics. Just to let you know, last year our team locally won almost all championships, soccer, volleyball, and basketball, and athletics also. It's not only a great school, academically speaking, but also sports have been amazing, in all areas. And I just invite everyone to welcome Mary Beach, who is the newly hired ARMA principal. She joined us. Mary is not here now, but she joined us from Lincoln. And she has tremendous experience in international baccalaureate, middle and high school program.
Yeah.
Good. Let's give them a round of applause to all our teachers. Good job. Summer school, back to school report. As I said, summer school went well with general coordination and principals' help. So the principals were in charge of buildings. They took turns, and it was extremely helpful to do that. So I talk about the retreat, the leadership retreat at the Kaufman Center, and we're doing now the new teacher orientation since last Wednesday. Some of our teachers are not here yet, but we've done orientation every day, helping make sure that the onboarding is good and making sure they get what they need. So not tomorrow, but Wednesday, we'll be the back to school for all the teachers and staff. So we have the 31st, I think, was first again. Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays ago, admin staff back to school. The next Wednesday is the new teacher. And the following one is tomorrow, in 2 days, every other returning teacher. And the following one is the students. That's how we do it. So, and next week then, and this week and next week will be PD for our returning teachers, everyone to get ready. One of the things we're doing this year is Jumpstart Day, which means that kindergarten, 6th grade, 9th grade will start one day before the other. It's going to be on Tuesday, the 20th. And the rest will be here on Wednesday. The district operations, do you want to talk about it or?
Sure. At the old building, we painted and patched all the walls there. It's kind of a summer project. We had a large tree there behind the soccer goal on the north side was removed. We had items removed from the boiler room for the fire inspection report. Swept one was completed here at the Arbor location, and also we did that last year right by the library. There was a library repair wall that was damaged part from the platform. The boiler room was cleaned out for inspection as well. Cheer building, we had a VCT tower replaced in the gym area. We had that as well, but also if you haven't been on the chair, I really encourage you to see like it's a summer makeover. We stripped the wax in the whole second floor, and then also the first floor and the gymnasium, and also the auditorium. Push road lines from the gym, which were painted there in Cherry. Armor building, basically first floor, third floor restrooms were painted and patched. Each lounge painted and patched, mechanical roof cleaned and inspection patched, and also the exterior top pointing was done here on these blue panels this summer. Transportation, currently right now, it's been quite the interesting summer. And I remember back in the days of coaching, and you would always have these recruits coming in, and then they get told back where they got to leave home, wherever that home might be, and you're always wondering who's going to show up. Same thing with transportation, because transportation is very competitive. As Pam said in one of the meetings with us, we have Zoom that just took over STA. Zoom is offering their bus drivers $30 an hour plus benefits. And then now you have Frontier, we're now 525 brand new buses with air conditioning. We're trying to lure some of our drivers over as well. But we've been managed to do quite well in our recruiting this summer. Knock on wood, because we have our transportation meeting tomorrow with all of our new drivers coming in. So as you can see there, the numbers are increasing, but I think those numbers will increase as well. Someone mentioned about the changing the times of the elementary and also the secondary. So those are always have a change. We're excited, and I want to thank Stephen and Mr. Bang for allowing me this summer to go get those 3 new buses too. I say 3 new buses, usually are free, but they're always used, and we're moving them along. And they're inspected, ready to go, ordered, and we'll be doing our dry runs this week.
So full staff or work out with this.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been doing a pretty good job of recruiting them. And I think the word is out with Académie Lafayette, just the stability, and then we support our drivers. And I'm not just saying this to fashion, because I've worked with them for years. First thing in SBA is they want to get away from that corporate and come to a small. But our number one selling thing for bus drivers here is our kids. It really is discipline. And I'm not taking away from Casey's Mo or anything, but our kids, man, we're all kids in this district. So let me share a little bit, the safety grant, as Stephen mentioned a while ago, the financing, that was money in, money out. Old campus, we did the storefront, we moved that a little bit. I think that sits well now with the building managers and also the secretary, how it's laid out. We did the exterior library doors, we did the safety film. And not only did we do the safety film on the exterior doors and windows, but we also did it on some of the interior classrooms too, where we had some funds left over. Cherry replacement windows, we did 90 windows at Cherry.
So good.
Exterior. If you've been there by the administration wing overlooking the playground, they were badly damaged and no visibility and that type of thing. And so Heather and those in that staff area were really pleased to see that, because now they can look out and see the playground, but also those kids can come and knock on the glass and interrupt them too. Upgrade security cameras throughout the district, security entry source, Frontier armor, and just miscellaneous paint from throughout the district. Thank you.
Thanks. Any question about operations?
We did a lot this summer.
It's good, yeah, very good.
And as you can see, I hope you can smell the difference and see the floors here and armor. I think that's gone a long way for us, and then also at Oak, we did a lot of upgrades at Oak.
It just really builds a lot of pride amongst your students when they know how much the adults care about the building, so thank you.
Yeah.
So one discussion we've had is about metal detector here. As you know, we have talked about it last 3 years. We have the metal detectors here already, because when we bought the building, they were already here. But we did not choose them, to use them. Now we have a high school, and there's a discussion about how do we use them. So what we are planning to do is investigate how to use it, and talk to parents, students, and so on, make the final decision of starting using them when they come back in January, eventually. So it's something we're thinking of. So we'll continue to look into the possibility or not to use them. So these are the numbers I shared with you preliminarily. They evolved. Today I look at it, we are 40 something, 44, but it's changed back and forth. So I'm sharing with you where we are. For preschool, I put the same numbers because it's a wash. We're not getting anything. What we're getting, that's what we're paying. So what we budgeted in our budget is 1448, including not counting those. I'm not counting these 13, but I think more than that. for the 13, because again, it's a wash. We don't need to, even if we put zero, that's what the money we receive from DC, that's what we're paying to the provider. The preschool is provided by Emmanuel. So at this point, we are 1435. But until the doors open and we count the kids, we don't know how many we have.
Did the law just roll in at the last minute because board numbers a little bit lower?
Pardon?
Board numbers a little bit lower and now they're wrong.
Yeah, it was 13 something. It was in the 1392. It was 1392, and then we have more and more coming in.
Oh, and you had your committee that was really aggressive.
We have a committee, as I said, and really Holly helped a lot, Alex helped a lot for the numbers, and we have also our former director of admissions who the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 2 weeks have been helping with the numbers and understanding timer and who applied. Holly also helped design a flyer with Michelle that we distributed to lots of preschools. So I think for the K we are under 70 something at this point. It's higher than this. So we'll see. Yeah.
How many 8th graders did we have last year? Because I'm looking at like the 9th grade numbers and we know not everybody comes over.
No.
Do you remember how many 8th graders we had last
We
year?
had 77 or something like that,
Okay.
I think. So what we had for the enrollment is around 20-25% of coming from Burma.
Okay.
That's what we had.
Do we have any more insights as to why some of those 8th graders aren't staying
So
in high school?
what we have done this year, we had a part-time high school admissions person to see how we can help create more interest for our high school. But I think once we graduate our first class and we have an established high school, people will look into that more. Of course, we're a little bit hampered by the fact that we don't have athletic facilities, and some of the kids want to go to other high schools for athletics. But academic-wise, we're doing really well. So that's what we want to sell. We cannot be everything for everybody.
Right.
So that's what we think. Now that we graduated one class, they went to college, people will take us seriously.
Yeah.
I always remind people that when I first arrived here 12 years ago, the middle school had how many classes? 5 altogether, I think. That was 6. There were three 6th grade class, 2 7 and 2 8th grade. Everything was 167 students. Now we've already got almost, now we have 15 classes. Because we used to lose students who did not stay. Back then, we kept 38% of our kindergartners graduate high school. 38%. Now we are between 70 to 75%, meaning we're losing the normal 5% attrition or something like that. So hopefully, in a few years, we want to be there for high school. Once we build our gymnasium here and have what we need, and then we attract also other students. The good thing about high school is there are other people who want to come here. We just try to limit it so that we don't have a huge number of people from outside to compare to our own students. That's why you have these smaller numbers. Yeah, last year was a good year for high school. As I said, we have 44% who didn't pass the full IB, which is higher than in other high school where they have 25% taking IB. Here we had 47% who take IB.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
And it looks really good, where we are versus projected for 10th, 11th, 12th, and so, yeah, it's time.
Now, these hours, we remember last year all the way from March to May, we had the survey discussion with parents and come up with something, just reminding you the hours. Change off, which starts at 7:30 and at 3 o'clock, at 8:30 and at 4 o'clock. Regular before care will be provided at Cherry Oak and here. Also, late Wednesdays too will change, but we will provide some of the early care. So doors will open at 9 here and class at 9:45. The challenge is for the early care at Oak and Cherry. For late start, late Wednesday will be provided by Académie Lafayette ourselves because Apple will not be able to do that.
Oh.
So what we will be doing is we are using part of our interns, some of our interns, and paying substitute teachers to come and do it. So the parents will always be paying $5 so that we can pay those people. So that's how we plan to do it.
Did you find families for all of the interns?
I think temporarily, yes, not temporary. Any question before we move? About anything about the school?
Oh, this is good.
Good. Well,
Any questions?
by the way, I learned that also Guadalupe Center is going to have their own bus transportation. I think people need to start paying us.
I know.
How do you call it, patent or something? I remember a few years ago when I told them about putting together our effort in creating a transportation company. They didn't want to do that. They think I was crazy. So I'm glad that people are doing it. It's working for them.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to do much because we have a closed session, so I won't add time. I just want to do kind of the annual reminder. We talked a little bit about this at the strategic session in June, but just remembering kind of the board's role. So board is accountable for academic and fiscal performance. Our sponsors, Dr. Boyd and Dr. Sanders, hold the boards accountable, and boards hold school leaders accountable. So it's just a reminder, we get all of this information, look at the reports, and come to the meetings with questions, and let's understand it there. We know a lot of the work gets done in the committees. That was a long it's a long finance committee meeting this week, but also asking the questions that we need to ask as a board to be responsible to the school. So the only other thing is, one of the things we're going to try to do, and so I'll be sending something out, is kind of set a standing, this is the date that the board retreat will be every year, so we don't go through all this, can you do this weekend or do that? So we'll try to set it, something like the third Saturday or second Saturday or whatever it is, so that we kind of have that standing time. So that's it.
Oh, I have a celebration.
Ah, we like celebrations.
Yes, but I just wanted to let everybody know I am a charter sponsor with SLID.
Yes.
That's not what the celebration is. It is at the Missouri Charter Public School Association. I was at the seeking of all those letters. They have had some finalists for outstanding educators. And of course, I scanned it very quickly for my 3 schools, and really proud that definitely some of the persons who are finalists have won the administration, have won the teachers, and they have support staff that Académie Lafayette was. Well, he didn't mention
So,
All right. That was the last thing, right? All right, then we will do a roll call vote out of open session into closed session. Crystal, since we don't have the the background completed yet, you cannot vote, so we'll skip you, but everyone else,
Why are we going into closed session?
huh?
Why are we going into closed session?
Oh, to discuss legal matters. Going into closed session to discuss legal matters, thank you.
It's not my first role.
She's been sitting there waiting, let's watch her pop face, let's watch her.
Every meeting with every school, I do that. It's like,
That's so funny.
everyone should just know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so roll call, we'll start with Beth.
Yes.
All right, Nathaniel?
Yeah.
Pam?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Michelle, yes? Lauren?
Yes.
Gwen, yes. All right, 5-minute bio break, and then we'll return for